All right, happy Monday. Happy Monday. Is that the right thing to say? Hello. I hope you've had a nice weekend. This is week 2 of the free series Dim and I are sharing with people to hopefully either convince you to take part in the XL Battle Series for the first time, or if you've been taking part, to just give you a bit of a boost up. And I actually want to start there. So this is Lookup week. What I'm going to be going into today is a bit of an introduction to XLOOKUP. But I want to start actually with a kind of doubling down of the message that I want to share. It's the whole reason why I'm doing this with Dim. And here's a bit of a backstory to why I'm saying this today. Rick Rothstein who's a very well-respected Microsoft MVP, has been engaging with some of the videos that we've been sharing, and because he is at that high level of skill and experience, he's been coming up with some alternative solutions that are just genius in my eyes. So on the weekend, if you watched my Sunday video, you will have seen I went down a little bit of a rabbit hole on text split and sequence. I absolutely love this. And I was going down this rabbit hole of where was it? So this was Diarmid's solution, a nested text split, which came from Rick originally. I was having a go at this thing where I was V-stacking 2 sets of char sequences. And I was questioning why the sequence of char characters is the way it is. And then Rick actually came back with another solution, so here it is on screen. I could have made this a bit easier by splitting it out over separate lines. But this is for me, this is just like genius level territory that I don't think more than a very, very small minority of people using Excel are capable of doing at the moment. And that's an important message from me on this, okay? Look at this. This is a lambda nested within a bunch of other stuff. And it's so clever. Like, I am in awe of people like Rick and Diarmid and Bo and others, Craig Hatmaker doing the 5G stuff. There's a really small minority of people that are at this level where they can think. It's almost like they're at this level of academic maths and problem solving that really is exceptional. And my message to the target audience for this video series is, if you see this stuff on LinkedIn, be in awe of it and respect it as an Excel geek, but do not beat yourself up if you can't do this. I can't do this. I could unpick that if I sat down and really thought about it for a long time. But that kind of level of coded problem solving doesn't come naturally to me. And I'm more of a traditional sort of financial modeler. So, why would it? I don't have a background in programming. I see it as a long-term target to get there. But if you're still at the stage where you're getting to grips with the fundamentals of functions like XLOOKUP, SUMIFs, even just the basics of logical calculations in Excel, don't worry about nested lambdas. Just carry on your journey and keep kind of working at the fundamentals. But I wanted to give a shout out to Rick and to Dim. This level of problem solving, I just think is exceptional. But for me, it's the equivalent of Lewis Hamilton in Formula One. And I don't watch Formula One and then get in my car and think, oh my God, I'm a failure because I can't do what he's doing. So there you go, massive tangent to start off with. Let's have a look at XLOOKUP. So back to the main workbook that I've been sharing so far in this series. And today we're looking at XLOOKUP. Now, I'm not going to go into too much detail on the individual kind of elements of XLOOKUP because it's all here in the XLOOKUP tab for you. And we've got some exercise tabs that follow for this. But what I would say is XLOOKUP is for me, it's a huge improvement on certainly HLOOKUP and VLOOKUP, which I've always hated. And I know it has a place in some people's hearts. I have a real thing for choose. I don't know why, but I do. But I appreciate that it's not always the best function to use. And some people just like HLOOKUP and VLOOKUP. But I think HLOOKUP and VLOOKUP have an additional risk factor to them because of the way you have to structure the table and pick the column. if your table of data changes structure, I think there's a risk that you end up picking the wrong field to do your lookup from with those old functions. And you don't have that issue with XLOOKUP, and you don't have that issue even with index and match, which we'll come on to on another day. So XLOOKUP is easier, I think, to understand from a syntax perspective. And then it's just got lots of additional options, including an inbuilt sort of dealing with an error option, which avoids the need to do these nested sort of if error, and so on and so forth. So let's just have a look at it. At the most fundamental level, it's doing what you would expect any of these sort of lookup functions to do. You can look up a value in a range, and then you can pull back, you can essentially extract another value from another field based on that lookup in the original range. So here we're looking for the price of the lamb pie in that range, and it's giving us the result here. Lamb pie 3, that's the lookup. If we change the lookup to chicken pie, then it'll dynamically look at that range and pick the appropriate price. In its most basic form, that's what it's doing. You can also do this if your data is structured by column rather than row very easily. Here's one of the nice quick things that you should kind of get some value from with XLOOKUP. You don't have to do this old approach of nesting things with if errors. You can literally just use the if not found parameter within XLOOKUP to return something other than a hash NA, which is great. You've got a lot of the match mode options that you have with match as a function. So you can look for an exact match. You can look for other types of matches, next, higher or lower. And you've got wildcard matches, which are incredibly useful as well. So have a look through the tab. I go through each of those in detail. Again, wildcards, I think that's such a great addition to give you more flexibility when you're looking up text strings and things like that. You've also got a search mode, so you don't have to start your search from the top to the bottom. You can do it from bottom to the top, again, which is really useful. And XLOOKUP works really well with dynamic arrays. So what I've showed you so far above is you're just looking for sort of one item of some sort. But actually, if you enter a range within some of your arrays, you're going to get a range back. Here, we're actually looking at the price, the quantity produced, and the quantity sold in the final return array, and that means that we're getting that back as a dynamic array here. We could also do that with multiple sort of input lookup values. So here we're looking up more than one type of pie. So we're going to get more than one type of pie back. Now, the only challenge which you may spot, and I've noted in the comments here, is that you will face this array of an array problem that I talked about before. So here, actually, what I'm doing is I'm looking up two input values here as an input array or range. And I've also got a range for the outputs. And Excel is doing what we looked at with text split last week, where it's only giving me the first field, the first column of that array back. So just be aware of that, the array issue. That's pretty much, oh no, there was one more thing I wanted to show you. So I haven't actually got my kind of muscle memory across this yet, but you can do two-dimensional lookup. So if you think of what you do, or what I tend to do with index and then two matches, you can highlight a range and then you can look up something on your columns and something on your rows as well. You can do that with XLOOKUP. So you actually nest XLOOKUP within XLOOKUP, and you just have to get used to the structure of this nested syntax. So make sure you kind of start practicing that. I have to admit, it's still the one thing that I turn to index match for at the moment, but I'm trying to get that into my own muscle memory. There's quite a few tabs here then with a few extra exercises for you. I just think XLOOKUP is worth your time getting really, really comfortable with. But what I will come on to over the next few days is the kind of classic that I've been using for a long time, index and match. And then a bit later on in the week, I'm going to touch on a few other things, some ifs, count ifs, sum product, really interesting one because there aren't that many use cases for sum product now that we've got this array functionality in Excel. But it was one of my favorite functions for so long. All right, so that's it for today. XLOOKUP, work your way through the XLOOKUP tab, have a go at the exercises, and I'll see you back here tomorrow.